Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jana Kindred. It has been a long time since I made a video, like a really long time. And I wanted to come back on and make a video because I want to talk about the big changes that are happening in my life, particularly a whole change in career. I am in CDL school, meaning I am in school to get a Class A commercial driver's license so that I can drive a semi truck. Probably didn't expect to hear me say that, did you? And I'm gonna do a little makeup today because I still love makeup. I'm always gonna love makeup. I'm always gonna be creative. And I imagine that once I'm doing trucking, I'm not gonna have all this stuff with me, obviously. I'm gonna have a much more limited, simple lifestyle, which I'll talk about a little bit more as the video goes on. But I hope I occasionally do some makeup stuff because part of what I wanna talk about and express going forward as a trucker is that being a trucker or being whatever it is that you do for a living isn't your only identity. That we all have different facets of our personalities and different interests, and you can do something and sink yourself into it and still have these other aspects of your personality be a part of you. So, you know, why the hell not, right? Today, I already have my complexion makeup done and my eyebrows, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I don't know if you guys can tell, I have a bruise on my forehead that I did a decent job of covering up because I got Botox a couple days ago. It's my third time getting Botox. And I got my lips done for the second time. I got them done a year ago, so you can probably tell that for sure. There's like a little bit of bruising there. They're really swollen right now because it was just 2 days ago, so they're gonna calm down a little bit. They won't be quite this, you know, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, juicy. But I was debating, like, do I want to talk about this in the video? Because if you watched any of my previous videos, it's a pretty apparent change. And I kind of don't want to because my thinking on it is like, I don't feel like we should always have to explain ourselves when we want to do something with our appearance, you know, especially as women, as aging women. I'm 43 years old and I'm, you know, seeing changes in my face and whatever, and there's things that I want to do, and there's a lot of conflicted feelings involved in it, and it's a personal decision, but it's also like, you know, who cares? It's my face, right? So I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video, but I probably will talk about it at some other point because I think it's an interesting subject. Just like a quick aside, like I think of certain celebrities that I sort of grew up watching and seeing how some of them are choosing to age more naturally and some of them are doing these really dramatic things to their faces, sometimes, in my opinion, for the worse. And I don't even want to comment on those people or say who they are when I think they look bad because it's like, ultimately it's their face and it's their body. And I want to support that idea that, you know what, other people don't have to like it. It's not their fucking face, right? I want to start doing, when I start officially trucking, I'm going to be doing videos about trucking. My whole channel is going to change to focus on my experience as a trucker. And I'm really excited to share that and how that sort of plays into the sort of diversity of my career history. I'm really excited. I feel very ready for a dramatic change of life. I am harboring no illusions about how difficult it's going to be. I think it's going to be one of the most difficult things I've ever done. And that's part of why I embrace it. Because if you don't know this about me at all from some of the stuff I've said in my other videos, one thing to know about me is I'm the kind of person who tends to gravitate toward things that I find a little bit intimidating or a lot intimidating or scary. And every time I've done that, I've learned so much about myself and have grown so much. And to me, it's like, you can't go wrong if you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. And my goal in my life is to keep doing that always, you know? And this is something that I have thought about for years and kept coming back to and talking myself out of it. And I'll get into that more in a minute. Anyway, this palette is now a year older, right? I don't even know when it came out, over a year ago, I think. RawBeautyKristi and ColourPop's collaboration at Forest Sight palette. I can't even tell you, like, I wish I had done a video about this when it was newer and more relevant to people maybe, but I feel like I don't care. This is always going to be relevant to me because I really completely love this palette. The colors in this palette She based them off of, as you can see with the art, she lives in Washington State, and she based the colors off of actual things that you see in nature, like mushrooms and different types of, you know, like fiddlehead is a type of fern, like different types of plant life, natural life that you see in Washington State where she lives. I have a special affinity for mushrooms. I actually have a little mushroom tattoo. It's one of my smaller tattoos on my ankle. And I think that fungi of all types are just really fascinating, beautiful, incredible organisms. And when I saw that she was doing a palette that was inspired in part by that, and the colors like chanterelle mushrooms is this color here, I was like, I have to get this palette. And she did the most amazing job on it. I'm kind of harping, I'm going on and on, but when I saw it, I was just like, this is, if I made a palette, this is what I would do. You know, this is what I would want. And I'm bummed because I don't think you can get this palette anymore. And I'm like, I almost wish I had bought a second one, because these are colors I'd want to use forever. I primarily use the colors on this side of the palette more. The colors Rainier, this one here, and Old Growth. Old Growth might be one of my favorite colors of all time. And point me to any kind of a dusty color and I am all about it. And then these colors here are a little bit more, you know, greenish toned, like this puffball. I feel like it has sort of a green undertone. I will put a link to her video about this palette, because she's going to describe it obviously so much better than I possibly could, and explain in depth why she chose the colors and how she chose them. And it's actually really amazing how she went about that process. So I'll leave that to the expert to explain. I'm a huge fan of RawBeautyKristi. I sent her a DM saying I was going to make this video, and I'm kind of like, I hope she checks it out, but she gets like a zillion DMs, so I would not expect her to. Oops, I got primer all over my face. This is the M2U NYC brand primer. It's one of the better ones I've used in a long time. I have mixed feelings about primers. Like, I think that sometimes they aren't what they're cracked up to be. Normally I would use my beauty blender to sort of press this into my eyelid, but I left it in the other room, so we're just going with the old finger pad method. But yeah, this one is very grippy, and like most primers, or you know, a lot of people use concealer, which if you follow Robert Welsh, if you follow Robert Welsh, he will explain to you in very good expert level detail, because he is a professional makeup artist, why using concealer is not the right call for a primer, like for a base under eyeshadow. So this will crease a tiny bit, but it's not going to do that like a primer will. This is actually going to help your eyeshadow grip. I really like it. I think it's a really legit primer. And so then I'm going to do something really simple today. I'm not going crazy. I just wanted to use this, and it's partly just a reason to like make a video, talk about a palette that I really am into, and tell you about, you know, kind of update you on what's going on in my life. So, cause this has been a go-to for me for a while, this palette. So it's one of those things where it's totally perfect for like an everyday look, or if you want to do something more dramatic, you can do something more dramatic too. I really also do love these deeper greens and blues. They're just such beautiful tones to me that I feel like they have a universal kind of appeal. Oh, there's this Let It Rain, which has a little bit of a sort of metallic shift, like a reddish metallic shift. But I don't tend to use the blues and greens quite as much. I'm more of a, you know, warm sort of orangey toned kind of chick, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm starting with Old Growth. It's my favorite, and it's gonna wear out, and I'm gonna be sad. I know it. And if you've seen any of my other makeup videos, again, this is one trick pony here. Oh, well, I'm not using Melt Cosmetics this time. That's the big, you know, that's a big change. And honestly, I would love to get the new Melt palette that's out, the Amore Mariposa palette. That's, of course, as always, a beautiful collection by Melt Cosmetics. They're really awesome. But I have made a personal moratorium on buying more eyeshadow palettes because I have enough of them already. and I'm about to be changing my life in a way that is not conducive to putting on a bunch of eyeshadow every day. So it's like, do I want to spend another $50 or whatever it is on eyeshadow right now? It's not really a rational choice to do that. So trucking. I had a driving job that I was delivering furniture for for 3 out of 4 years. I left for a year and went back after the pandemic, after I lost my service industry jobs where I was working as a bartender. My work history has been kind of all over the place, but the long story short of it is I am a creative person who has found myself sort of at times in a set of circumstances where I was just like, I just have to do something to make money right now. I'm just going to do this, and sort of fell into doing something else. I was a personal trainer for a long time. I really loved it. I love helping people. That's something that I feel really passionate about and that I always know I'm going to go back to in some way or another. But when I went through a divorce, I had to walk away from personal training because I was going through a period of crisis in my own life. Especially once I started to struggle with substance abuse and I ended up in recovery. But before I ended up in recovery, just busting out a little mirror here so I have a second point of reference, I was not in any position to be talking to people about health or helping other people. And that was part of me. And it was a good decision I made in hindsight to walk away from it, because trying to force yourself into doing something that feels wrong, especially when it involves the well-being of other people, is not going to help you or help them. Ultimately, you're not going to be able to be there for them the way you need to, and you're compromising yourself, and nothing feels worse. It's one of those shitty aspects of the addiction struggle. Nothing feels worse than not being able to be honest with yourself and with other people. It reinforces a lot of what leads you into, or like perpetuates, that addiction struggle. So I walked away from that and went into bartending for a long time. Bartending initially is what led to me being in recovery, which was a good thing. And it also enabled me to, gain some financial stability. I was able to make better money and, than I was for a long time as a trainer. That's a whole mixed bag. Some trainers can make a ton of money. There's just a lot of things about that industry that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But anyway, I'm not trying to harp on that here. So bartending, have been doing that for a long time, still doing that. And it's not really authentic to me either. It's like, it's not challenging in a way I want to be challenged. It can be fun. I've learned a ton. I don't regret it at all, but it's not really serving me in the way that it's like, I got to a point in my life where I'm like, I'm ready for some growth here, and this isn't the way I'm going to get to where I need to be. And I feel awesome about this. Like, I used to have a real problem in my life with inertia. And what I mean by that is having this tendency to stick with things that I knew were not working. I did it for a really long time with training, relationships, whatever it is, because I was afraid to change. Because I was like, well, this is working well enough. And it wasn't working. When something wasn't working, I would just like stay pushing myself to do something that doesn't feel right, doesn't feel authentic, and then you're not happy. I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to feel like I'm compromising. So I ended up doing the furniture delivery thing to try to get to make some distance, some space. And I thought it was going to be this, like, I'm going to work one shift a week and make $100 and do some physical labor and get paid for it, because I love physical work. I love it. And I also have always had an attraction to doing jobs where women weren't typically welcome. I don't know what it is about me. I think one of my first times being exposed to that type of thing was when I graduated from high school. My stepdad at the time was a supervisor for a construction company. And so I ended up working for his construction company as a laborer for that summer and making what at the time was good money, which now is funny, but and getting paid in cash, and I'm going to just go in with Rainier here. And I also super love this sort of almost like a terracotta color. It's really gorgeous. Really gorgeous. I just thought about like, what is that guy's name? Dang it, I'm forgetting. The Australian guy who was wonderful, but he passed away, the animal guy. It's gorgeous. Anyway, I'll think of it. Steve Irwin. Used to be a huge fan of his. He was a beautiful soul. Anyway, sorry, random tangent. The guys that I worked with there, that were the heavy equipment operators, were really awesome, nice guys, very respectful, and they had to be, probably because I was the boss's daughter. But I was always cool too. Like, I've always had a strong work ethic, and I wasn't going there being like a little prima donna, even though I was only 18 and I was a complete dumbass, no question about it. I wanted to go there and work hard, and be accepted. And I think they liked that about me because they saw that I wasn't going there with some kind of entitled attitude. And that job was extremely boring. Like, being a laborer was not challenging. In that place was not a challenging job at all. I actually always kind of envied the heavy equipment operators because what they did I thought was really cool and takes a high level of skill. And I thought about going to some type of a trade for a while, because there's an awesome place in Chicago where I live called Chicago Women in Trade. If you're watching this, you live in Chicago and you're a woman who is interested in a trade, go there. Go there for an info session, or if you know somebody, tell them about it. They're amazing, amazingly supportive. They work with a lot of young women who I think come from underprivileged backgrounds, who need a way to move themselves forward in the world and make some money and have a good career and have independence. And wow, it is such a cool thing. And basically they sort of take people in and do some basic assessment of them and have them try different trades on a small scale and try to determine what they might have an aptitude for, and then they get opportunities from there. And they can go from being like fresh out of high school to having a $40 an hour job with benefits and a union. It's awesome. The thing is, it takes certain types of women who are willing to withstand the unique stresses of being in male dominant environments where you're going to work with a lot of men who don't want you there. That is just like a reality. And I got more exposure to that working as a professional mover. Sexism was a daily experience for me, and it was irritating. It's like, I'm a small built person. I'm 5'4" and like 130 pounds, right? So I'm working sometimes with men who are 6'3" and 200 something pounds, and we're both on either end of a credenza, and I have a lot of, because I was a trainer and I was a weightlifter since I was 15, like there were days I was working with a guy who had been alive for fewer years than I had been lifting, but who would, people would, when they would ask us questions or something, they would look at him first, because he's a guy. It's just like this assumption that people make. Women can do fucking anything. Women can do anything. And I enjoyed it though. I enjoyed proving people wrong. I loved it. There were instances where we would be moving something really challenging. I always think of this one place that we used to pick up furniture from. It was this custom furniture shop. And if you saw that place in your schedule, you knew that whatever you were picking up was going to be heavy. And they would do these heavy, whatever, really high quality, heavyweight wood custom dressers and stuff like that. And when we had to move those, there were times when it was like, this is nerve-wracking, right? It's a little scary. And I remember one time taking a dresser to a customer who we already knew was a difficult customer. We had an acronym for them. That was our sort of background parlance of how we talked about those people, to just let each signal to each other, be careful, this customer is going to be, watch how, do everything perfect, basically, because if you don't, this customer is going to blame you if there's anything wrong. And when we got there were two sort of, probably 5'10" to 6 foot tall men that were there, along with a woman who was inside with an infant. And they saw me, and I can read the face automatically on a guy when I show up to deliver something, and they're like, hell no, because they don't think I can do it, but they don't understand that professional movers, it's not about brute strength. That is a huge part of it, but it's about skill, lifting skill, because what you're doing is you're playing, I always said it like this, you're playing Tetris meets Operation with large, heavy, valuable objects in precious spaces, meaning rich people's houses a lot of the time. So anyway, I'm going on too much about that job, but it was something that really made an impact on me, and I'm glad I did that job, because if I hadn't done that job, I don't think I would have the guts to be going into into trucking. And a lot of it was that I was the driver most of the time. I drove extended Sprinter vans around the city of Chicago through loading dock areas, all kinds of tight things, alleys, whatnot, busy traffic. I drove out of state a few times, which I really enjoyed. That made me realize like I love interstate travel. You know, it was an experience that clarified for me that I can handle doing a job where I'm driving for long hours, but it is hard. It's mentally difficult to be in a larger vehicle because of the added level of concentration it requires. Driving a semi is a lot different than driving an extended Sprinter van, a lot different. And that's what I'm experiencing in school. So next I'm going to I'm realizing as I'm just kind of like talking, and I don't feel like I'm not as into the makeup as I am into talking today. Did I mention that it's Thanksgiving? I don't think I did. And I'm just having a chill Thanksgiving by myself, which might sound a little sad, but I don't mind it. I really don't, because the next 2 days, see, might be able to see where that concealer or primer sort of got in the creases there, and you just pat it with your finger and it's fine. It doesn't like keep creasing like that. It ends up being fine. But as I learned from listening to James Welch does skincare. Awesome YouTube, by the way. Robert Welch does makeup, twin brothers. And he says that the skin of your eyelids, it tends to be more oily, and that's why you'll end up with like creasing with certain products more, you know. So anyway, just this really beautiful gold shade, and I'm just kind of doing it right in the middle. I always do my makeup kind of the same way, you know, and then I always like to do just a little bit right underneath the iris, because I think of it as like it's reflecting into the eye, and it's a really pretty kind of effect. Ooh, I love that. Pigments are really nice and rich, and it's got a good amount of shimmer, and yeah, it's really pretty. All right, do the same thing on the other eye. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, so I've been in CDL school, trucking school, for the last few weeks, and I'm set to get my CDL in about 3 more weeks or so. It happens kind of quickly. I don't think it happens quickly for everyone. Some people take longer. Some people have to repeat the test. My goal is to pass it on my first try. I really hope I can. I believe that I can. At this point, the driving part I feel pretty confident with as far as the test goes. Once I get out on the road, that's a whole other story, because getting your CDL does not mean you can drive a truck. It means you can handle the very basic function of a truck and basic driving. But you're a novice for a long time as a trucker, like for the first several years, and that might be the extent of the time that I'm driving. So I might never be a seasoned trucker. I don't know how it's going to happen or how it's going to go. So I'm just trying to be open to whatever ends up happening. My dad has been an over-the-road trucker for like at least 20 years. And he was a trucker on and off. He was a trucker before I was born. So I'm really grateful that I have his perspective to sort of tap into, because I have probably more awareness about the really bad sides of trucking than some people do, because we've had so many conversations about it over the years. And that's why I harbor no illusions. It's not something that's going to be easy by any means. Next, I'm going to go into Homegrown, which is right here. Another really beautiful, deep sort of, it's almost like just the deeper version of that terracotta. It's nice and warm, and I feel like it's got that sort of, can work on different skin tones. Well, that was a lot of what Kristi did when she designed this palette, was to make it so that it could work on any skin tone. She really put a ton of attention into that, and that's partly making it really well pigmented and making sure the colors can work on different tones. Oh, I love that. It's really pretty. So what else can I say? I don't want to make this video crazy long. I'm trying not to, because that's a bad habit, but I like to talk. And no one wants to watch like a 40-minute video. But, you know, I don't have that many followers right now, so the few of you that will watch this, maybe you'll not even get to this point. You will have already turned it off, and that's okay. I'm sort of equal parts apprehensive and excited about trucking. I have the opportunity to make my broader goal, which I should have said already, is to get out of student loan debt. That is my number one mission. Debt in general, I also have some credit card debt, but student loans have been haunting me for 20 years. 20 years this year, because I'm 43. I graduated when I was 23. I was a super senior. Couldn't decide what I wanted to do back then. Kept changing my major, adding a major, double majored in art and journalism. Ultimately, I have a bachelor's degree, and I don't regret it. I don't regret getting an education, and I'll talk a lot more in upcoming videos about the experience of being in student loan debt and how it feels and what it's like to try to work your way out of it. But that's my broader goal, is to get out of debt and to create a stable financial future for myself. And it's taken me a lot of other changes in my life, which I'll also talk about more in future videos, to get myself to the point of being able to have the guts to go to CDL school. One thing I want to say just to anyone who's watching this is, if you want to do something like CDL school and you don't think you can afford it because it's like $5,000 or more, check out government grants. That is how I am doing it. I wouldn't be able to afford it at all, because the whole thing is I'm in debt and I don't want to take on more debt. I can't afford to at all. So I was able to get a grant. It's called the WIOA grant. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's WIOA. Look it up, and you can get the money that you need to go to CDL school, and it's not that hard. I mean, it can be, it's a bunch of annoying paperwork, and the people I had to work with, and I went through a community college. Because of the pandemic and people being short-staffed, it's annoying to try to get stuff done, no matter what it is. This was like that. So you got to be persistent. You got to just keep staying in touch, do your paperwork, communicate, over-communicate. Don't be afraid to be a pest and get it done. You can do it. And like, it has been such a boon to me to be like, I was able to do this schooling that I really needed, that I could not have afforded to do before, you know? I could keep talking. This video is getting long. So I'm just going to finish up doing my eyes. I'm going to stop. I'm going to come back, and you'll see in a second. All right, so this is the finished look. I didn't even talk about the makeup that much in this video, and I wanted to talk about it more, but just to let you know how I finished it up. From the App Foresight palette, I went in with this Amanita color, just sort of underneath the lower lash line, to give it a little bit more depth. I really like how that kind of makes your eyes pop, especially with the gold color sort of next to it, the West Coast color right here. And I did eyeliner with ColourPop, which is their Swerve Cream Gel Color Matte. To be honest with you, this is not my favorite gel eyeliner. It's too dry. It dries too fast, so it doesn't give you enough play. Like, you have to be accurate immediately. I usually use a little bit of tea tree oil on my brush. That sort of helps keep the product malleable so I can get the line perfect, but it's difficult to do. And then what'll happen is, if it dries down and then you get oil on your brush and you go over it again, it'll start to pull the color off. It'll start to pull the product off. I don't like that. I feel like that's one of the hardest products to find that's a good, like, perfect gel liner. And my favorite one that I've found so far is by Melt Cosmetics. And I know I'm biased, but I'm telling you, I think it is the best one. That whatever, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but their matte gel liner comes in a bunch of different colors. The black one is the one that I've used, and it's awesome. And it gives you enough movement that you can perfect it before it dries down. I've used ColourPop, I've used the MAC one, and I've used like the NYX one, and the best of all of those is hands down the Melt. And then I used for mascara, I used the Surfer Curl. It's a new, I think this is a new line. You totally can't really see that. Let me try to make it visible. This is a new line by Tarte Cosmetics, the C line, SEAC. I usually think a lot of mascaras are bullshit. Like, they'll make all these claims and it's just all the same shit with a different style of brush, right? But this actually, I really like it. And I like it because it feels like it's got enough moisture in it that it's workable. Also, kind of like the Melt thing. It's like, it's not it doesn't like get dry and gross immediately, so that you end up with like clumpy, gross eyelashes and like chunks of mascara falling onto your face. That's annoying. No one likes that. And then this is an old ass loose powder that I use. This Lottie London. It's called Ready, Set, Go or something. Yeah, just a regular loose powder. Nothing fancy about that. Yeah, nothing really too exciting to finish off the look. Did a little highlight, did a little lip gloss. It looks like I have a makeup line right here. I can't tell if that's like my hair or if that's like the makeup. So whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to making more videos. I'm definitely going to be talking a lot more about my trucking life that is about to start, and makeup is going to be in the past for a while probably, or maybe intermittently appearing. But I wanted to do a little makeup video because I still love makeup and I love doing creative things. And I think like I said in the beginning, you know, just because you do a certain job doesn't mean you have to fully be only that thing. You can be a lot of things. You can be a diversified individual with all kinds of interests, and that's definitely who I am. So look forward to talking a lot more about getting into trucking, the scary and exciting and interesting things about being a trucker, being a female trucker, and exploring the country. And that's what I'm really excited about too, because I'm ready to get out of the comfort zone of being in one place for a while and travel, you know? So I will catch you on the next one. I hope everyone is having an awesome Thanksgiving wherever you are. By the time you see this, it'll be probably after Thanksgiving. But anyway, catch you on the flip side.